Now we're calling on the African National Council. We're calling on the Southwest African People's Organization. Now! 100 children cry, freedom. On the bed door rise, freedom. See my people crying for freedom. Freedom. On the children weep, freedom. And red blood runs weak, freedom. See my people crying for freedom. 400 years now we've been working as your slave. Why can't you free us? Let us have a separate ways. Equal rights and justice wasn't made for just one man. Demand our freedom cause we need a liberation. Hey, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, written in the Human Rights of Declaration. So, whoa, whoa, whoa. And the children weep, and red blood runs deep. See my people crying for freedom. Hear the children cry, under that tall rise. See my people crying for freedom. We need the freedom in a full equality. Freedom for Mandela from apartheid misery. We don't need no sanction from no big-time hypocrites. While we there are suffer, they gon' play in politics. Cause hey, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, written in the Human Rights of Declaration. So, whoa, whoa, whoa. And the children cry, and the dead toll rise. See my people crying for freedom. And the children weep, and red blood run quick. See my people crying and they're weeping and they're wailing and they're crying and they're dying for freedom. Wow! Right now, we are a people, trodden from Genesis right down to Revelation.
Yes, folks, that is where I want to say a special greetings and welcome to all of you locked into that space at this time. Welcome to the program called Civic Vibes each and every Sunday from 6 o'clock.
Like I said, we need the freedom.
We are starting with this very powerful number from our very own brother Nasir Fontaine entitled Freedom.
Need no sanction from no big-time hypocrites. While we there are suffer.
A line in there, a very powerful line in that track says,
Freedom of expression.
See my people crying for freedom.
Speech, written in the Human Rights.
So yes, brother Nasir Fontaine, thank you very much for kicking us off here with this number.
See my people crying for freedom.
Yes, see our people in Dominica crying for freedom.
We need the freedom in.
And it is through conversations like this.
Freedom for Mandela from apartheid misery.
It is through conversations like this one.
Time hypocrites. While we there are suffer, they gon' play in politics. Cause hey,
yes, we will be free.
Freedom.
Free from whatever holds us bondage. Be it religious, political, or otherwise.
So, whoa, whoa, whoa.
So yes, I want to say again a special shout out to all of you locked into the space at this time. It is already 13 minutes past 6 o'clock, not just in Dominica, but in the region in which we live.
See my people crying for.
So all of you locked in, those of you in the region, those of you further afield, thank you very much for your eyes and ears, like I normally usually say. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, as we're about to get into a very important conversation in terms of the continuation of that conversation we started last week with Dr. Thompson Fontaine.
Wow!
We're asking you to share that live feed at this time.
We are a people.
Yes, please let someone know that the program is on. As they say, tell Lou to tell Sue that the program is on. Huh?
Now!
To all of you already locked into the live feed, thank you very much. Those of you on the good old Facebook and YouTube channels, good evening to you. I have a dear friend locked in from the south, on the south of Africa this time. We were talking earlier. I know she's locked, my friend from Botswana. Good evening to you. She was in the program sometime back.
On the children and red blood run free.
My friend in India, in Zimbabwe, and across the globe, good evening to you guys. Some of you guys is already good morning, I must say.
Now we've been working as your slave. Why can't you free us? Let us have a separate ways. Equal rights for justice wasn't made for just one man.
Yes, folks, we have a very erudite brother here with us this evening. In the name of none other than Mr. Joshua Francis. Yes, you heard me right. Joshua Francis. A practicing attorney in the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Rights of declaration. So,
So that process that we will commence this Wednesday, that is the 15th of October, that is the confirmation process, that is, as we try, yes, that's the operating with the try to make our process much freer and fairer. It has a lot of legal matters in there. And so hence, this evening, Mr. Joshua Francis was invited to help us dig a bit deeper and be informed of some of the legalities in there as we're about to start this process this coming Wednesday.
No sanction from no big time hypocrites. While we there are so far they gone playing politics.
So we have people like Brother Ferdinand Lawrence, you're already here, good evening. Everlasting Peter, Rosa Robinson, Bernadette Myla.
Written in the human right.
My friend Ramona St. Rose, good evening to you. Mali Austria, Stephanie John Baptist. Judith Cochran, that is from Cochran.
See my people crying.
Uvelma Hambren, you're also there, good evening to you. Caroline Warrington, Chandra Sandval, and the list goes on and on and on.
See my people crying and they're whipping.
Brother Arundel Thomas, I know you're locked. Good evening to you as well. Indira Telema, good evening to you. Ivinia Joseph, Carol Bruni, you're also locked as well. Good evening to you guys.
We are a people.
Thanks for your company each and every Sunday.
Down to Revelation.
Brother Alvin Thomas, again, I want to say an apology on his behalf for not being here with us tonight.
The 12 tribes of Israel.
But as we speak, Alvin is engaged in a very, very important event that is about to unfold in Dominica sometime soon. And so he's steering that committee.
We need a freedom.
So Brother Alvin Thomas, good evening to you, my bro.
Freedom from Mandela, from apartheid.
Mr. Julius Sampson, that is, Owen Prosper, Marshall Lawrence, Sharon Jonker. Each and every one of you, good evening in a very special way from Civic Vibes.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
Written in the human rights of declaration. So,
for those cricket fans out there, we had a cricket match that started between India and our very own the West Indies.
See my people crying and the whipping and the welling and the crying and the
where India piled on 500 plus runs and declared
right now
518 to be precise, with the captain Mr. Gould making a century and Mr. What's his name there? This other Indian cricketer. Mr. Jaiswal.
Like I said, we need
so yes, after declaring for 500 plus runs, our West Indies team was sent into bat.
No big time hypocrite.
And they were basically bundled out for 248 in the first innings.
Freedom of expression, freedom of speech.
India basically enforced the follow-on.
Human rights of that.
And so West Indies was sent back to bat.
So,
and presently, our guys, they are 173 for 2. With Mr. Campbell and Mr. Shehop.
See my people dying for freedom.
Having scored half centuries and more, they are still at the crease. And so there is some hope indeed.
We cool the heat.
So day 4 starts tonight, our time, midnight.
And the whipping and the welling.
Those of you who are interested.
Crying for freedom.
Brother Ozzy Lewis, good evening to you and all the cricket fans out there.
Freedom of the legalized.
Viva Mamo, good evening to you as well.
Trying for freedom.
Gemma Daniel, Janice Chaplis, good evening to you guys. All right, folks, it is 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Enough of me for now. Let me move across to our guest here. Brother Joshua Francis, first and foremost, let me say on behalf of the team, the Civic Vibes team, and I would want to thank all of us on the live feed, all the persons on the live feed. We want to thank you for taking time off your Sunday and coming to have a discussion with us about matters pertaining to our development, especially in the political arena. So thank you, brother. We appreciate your company this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus-Zira, and good evening to everyone who is on this platform this evening. I hope all is having a very pleasant and wonderful Sunday evening. Always a pleasure to be here with you, Mr. Dura.
Joshua, well, I must admit, whenever, I call on you, whenever Civic Vibes call on you to contribute to country, you are one person, you're one lawyer who always make time. And so I always want to recognize those efforts and just give you a shout out, give you a public thank you, that is. So again, thank you, my brother.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. I always try to make myself available to assist in whatever way I can.
Yeah, because a lot of people see us come here. That is the Civic Vibes team. We engage people like you every Sunday. And a lot of persons, they think it's just like, walk in the park. You just get people sort of wash your foot and come. But they don't know the sort of preparation, the sort of requests that have to go in, the sort of sacrifice on the guest part that have to, sort of go into. So again, we just want to appreciate you and thank you for making the time.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Loftus.
All right. So Josh, how is Joshua Francis?
Joshua Francis is doing well, working hard, and watching what's happening in Dominica, being called on the streets, on the phone, via email to re-enter the political arena to make a contribution. Because in the minds of some people, I stepped out and my services is required. The people are looking for leaders. They are looking for everyone who can make a contribution in one way or the other to the opposition forces in preparation for the next general election. So I always try to make myself available to assist in whatever way I can. Loftus, as you said, it's not always easy. It may appear to be easy, simply appearing on a program or on the radio, but it comes a great sacrifice. And
Indeed.
just as you...
And preparation as well, huh?
Yes, correct. You acknowledge the sacrifice that comes with persons like me, and it's the same for you, because at this hour, we could be engaged in a family affair, in a work-related affair, but for the people of Dominica, we're here. And even those on the platform, they could be elsewhere. They could be looking at a movie.
True.
So they too are making a sacrifice to be part of this engagement, which is required for the betterment of Dominica.
Yes, indeed. Joshua, just before we sort of go deeper into the conversation that we really and truly want to have with you, really confirmation process, Josh, you have a very interesting story, I must say. You started out where you sort of said persons are asking you to come back into the political arena because some persons think you have stepped out or you left. Josh, you did some sort of what I term political miracle in the south of Dominica. When was it? 2014.
2014. Yes, 2014.
Yeah. Whenever I hear that story from you in particular, it always sort of intrigued me. Just go back there a bit, Josh. Sort of tell the people exactly what was involved in there, the sacrifice, as we said before, and how you managed to sort of pull off that political victory, beating Mr. Ambrose George. They call him T Papa then. He was sort of, unbeaten in most persons' eyes. But you did it. How did you do that, Josh?
All right. So Lofty, thanks for the question. Let me just get to the roots of how this happened.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a conscientious person since high school. Went to sixth form college, became a teacher at the Granby Secondary School, hung around in Dominica for a number of years, caring for my deceased grandparents before I went to the United States to pursue my first degree in economics. Then I returned to Dominica and took up a job as a lecturer at the Dominica State College. And whilst I was at the college, that is between 2004 and 2006, I decided that I wanted to pursue law. And one of the reasons I wanted to study law is to become, or would have to become, independent financially and otherwise. And once I entered law school, I grasped a greater sense of understanding of what was happening within the superstructures of the world. I got more inspired to get involved in politics. At the time when I was at law school, and even after my graduation, I supported the Dominica Labour Party because I was raised in a household supporting the Dominica Labour Party. I knew Roosevelt Skerritt personally. We went to sixth form college together. We are some kind of distant cousins, given that my paternal grandfather is from Vickers. But I didn't like the direction that the country was going, nor did I support the ideology that Mr. Skerritt showed to the public of Dominica. And therefore, I decided to get involved in politics. I graduated from law school in 2011, got called to the bar in October 2011. By 2012, I had left my former in-laws law office, that is Dyer and Dyer, and opened my own office. And by 2013, June of 2013, I had made up my mind to declare myself as a candidate for the United Workers' Party in Dominica. I became an official member of the United Workers' Party in June of 2013. And not too long after, by November of 2013, I had decided to avail myself to contest the election in Roseau South for the United Workers' Party. I met with a friend at my office, as it was, on 7 Cross Street, Roseau, and we decided how we were going to get that done. And at the heart of our strategy was to build relationships. We looked at the voters list. I remember one afternoon, we actually took a walk to the electoral office to get the election results for the past 5 elections in Dominica. We got from 1975, I think, going up. And we looked at the political behavior of the electorates in Roseau South. We looked at the numbers. We looked at trends. And then we decided that we had to devise a strategy. So that strategy rested on building relationships. And in so doing, we knew that a lot of my time would have had to be expended on the ground. So at that stage, I then informed my wife, former wife, that I was interested in being the candidate for the United Workers' Party. She wasn't in support, but eventually she fell in line, and the work started lofty. We formed a team. The team was about 5 of us, and we went on a mission, house to house. We worked with our books, we worked with our pens and our pencils. And for every house we visited, we paid no mind to whether the people supported Labour, UWP, Freedom, or otherwise. We did not discriminate against houses. As a matter of fact, we had not done any investigation on the political leanings or the political establishments or political support that the people gave. We were just interested in talking to people, and so said, so done. Whilst we were going from house to house, we recorded the names of people, their ages, their needs. That was the first round. So the first round, if I recall, our questions the questions were more about what would you like? What do you see in Dominica? Do you think we need a change? What kind of change? So it was more of an investigation type of survey in the first round. And the second round, by then I had not told the people that I was contested. I had not confirmed it. I just told them, what would they think if I were to be the candidate? And by the second time we entered the houses, we let them know that I was running, and we listened to them and we recorded their concerns. And we kept going back to them. Of course, we had different families. Some families were already on board with the opposition. Some families were with Labour. Some families were indifferent. So whilst we were going along lofty, we took note of the unregistered voters as well. And we targeted the young men on the blocks throughout Roseau South constituency. By the time we campaigned on the ground between November of 2013 and July of 2014, we had already registered over 500 new voters, primarily the young men, because what I did was on weekends particularly, I went to the different catchment areas, the different hamlets in Roseau South. So I would go to Bath Estate, Kingsale, Jodel. I met the young men on the blocks. I met them in the shop, and I would take the information. We would follow up. We were consistent. We developed a phone call registry where we had all these numbers. Eventually, we expanded our team. We brought in some women on board, and we formed some messages that we were sending to the constituents by text. We had gotten a number of birthdays. We would call the people, wish them happy birthday. We would call them, especially the senior citizen, check on how they were doing. And the people just fell in love with me and the team. And we met people that really inspired me. I remember meeting a particular doctor who was 76 years old. She told me she had never voted in her life. She never had interest in registering to vote, but she fell in love with Joshua Francis, and she decided that she was going to register to vote. I remember meeting elderly men, likewise, who had never voted in their lives, and they decided they wanted to get registered to vote. For some reason, the people felt inspired. They felt that they had met somebody who was genuine, somebody who loved people, somebody who cared for them, and somebody who was neutral in his thinking, balanced, and not hyper partisan. Because at the time, that's how I brought myself forth. I wasn't really pushing any one political ideology. I was pushing love and care and dealt with issues. I understood people's specific issues and, of course, constituency issues and national issues. And in so doing, my team and I, we were not dependent on the United Workers' Party for funds. We started raising our own funds, and we identified people who had needs. So as the time went by, we went back to certain households. We brought little hampers for them. We assisted them in different ways. And by the time we looked at it, we had names and numbers of hundreds of people throughout the constituency. By then, my team had expanded. I had over 20 people in my team. The Roseau South Constituency Association became formidable. We we broke the team, the large team into smaller teams. So whilst I would be in Newtown, I would have another team working in Bath State, going on the ground, taking names, registering people in the afternoon. Lofty, it was hard work. It was a lot of work. I recall sometimes, leaving my home at about 7:30, 8 o'clock after my children were taken care of. I would go to my office if I had to sign documents, spend 1 hour, 2 hours in the office if I had no court, and I was on the ground. I spent more time on the ground than in my office. I spent more time on the ground than at my home. And I did that consistently for at least 8 months. And I think it is that hard work supported by the United Workers' Party, because of course, at the time, the United Workers' Party was on an upward trajectory. New faces came into the party was re-energized, new leadership, new blood, and nationally there was an upsurge in support for the United Workers' Party. So that wave helped as a buttress to the work that I was doing in Rosa South. And I believe at the heart of my success in Rosa South was God. Back then, I probably prayed more. Maybe I was more spiritual. Maybe I was more righteous. But I attributed everything to God. We would go on the ground. We would hold hands. We would start with a prayer. We would get to homes. We would even pray with people. We ended our days with prayers. And that was part of the journey. And at the end of it, Loftus, it was a very sweet victory. As you rightly pointed out, nobody saw that coming. If there were bets, I think most people would have betted against Joshua Francis winning that constituency. The gentleman had won the election in 2009 by over 1,000 votes. By the time the election was called, I got 2,150 something votes, and Bruce George got 1,900 plus. The candidate for the United Workers' Party in the 2009 election, if I remember, was Mr. Frederick. And he had gotten 1,000 and just about 1,100 votes. So there was a significant increase in the number of votes for the United Workers' Party through me. And a lot of those new voters a lot of that new support for the United Workers' Party really were new registered voters. We also had disgruntled labor rights, because at the time, Mr. Ambrose George's support or his presence in the constituency in the minds of many labor rights had faded considerably. They had lost confidence in him. So some of these labor rights also supported me. From my experience, Loftus, I was loved by both labor rights and United Workers' Party people. And one of the things that I liked is, although they were very strong labor rights, they made it clear to me they would not support me, but they were not part of the machination in trying to degrade me, in trying to demonize me. In some cases, they actually fought for me. I recall this famous lady from Kingsville, Mammy, even calling on Kyrie FM to say that she loved Joshua Francis. So that is the kind of politics that I brought in, maybe not politics, but the kind of personality that I brought into politics in the Rosa South constituency and Dominica by extension in 2014.
Wow. So Josh, I'm listening there, and I can see that that is sort of a testimony that you basically went on the ground, did the work, did the hard work, as you said, coupled with a strategy, and it worked.
It did.
It did. So you'd recommend that to any aspiring politician now? Hard work coupled with a strategy can work.
Well, definitely, Loftus. I believe that once the people like you, and you give them reasons to like you and to continue to like you, and you provide hope, you inspire them, they'll follow you. I mean, that is what we did in Rosa South in 2014. I was new on the scene, and people liked my personality, and I believe it was more about emotions and rationale. Of course, we were pushing ideology, we were pushing policies, but ultimately, a lot of people really fell in love with Joshua Francis, and they decided to support me. So I believe universally, when a politician is liked, it is already a plus. When you have likability and you're willing to do the work, you have strategy, and you have support. Because Lofty, I do not want to discount the presence or the power of money. As I told you, my team was able to raise money. I remember a certain gentleman called me and he gave me an envelope. I did not open the envelope in his presence. We spoke, and then when I got to my car and I opened the envelope, it was $20,000. Another gentleman called me in his office and gave me $30,000. I mean, these were people I had not targeted, but even these people felt inspired and they wanted to support my team and the campaign. So the financial support also played a part. As I said, being on the ground and understanding the plight of the people, I was not going to allow a man who did not have a gas cylinder to go throughout the night, not being able to cook a meal for his family. I found a way not only to provide the money, but in some cases, I took it on my own to go and get the gas cylinder. So I believe that any person who's aspiring to be a politician, particularly in the opposition and not having the larger shesh, as we say in local palace, he needs to show the people of Dominica that he cares about them genuinely. I believe that will go a long way. Because generally, once people feel that you will stand for their rights, you will stand for their needs, you will care for them, they are more likely to follow you. If they don't trust you, if they think that you are just playing a game, that you're just there to get a vote, to put yourself in a position to milk the cow, they are unlikely to follow you, especially in your position.
Wow. So Josh, basically, as I said before, I heard what you said, and you are saying to us in Dominica that anybody in this political arena aspiring at is want to represent the needs of the people, they have to have certain, political acumen, as it were. You mentioned being likable. You mentioned being able to aspire. How Josh, how did you inspire the people of the South? Just touch on that,
right.
First.
Well,
Because a lot of people are in the political arena, and you get that sort of flat-footedness from these people. They really don't know how to go about motivating and inspiring people. Is that a skill that can be learned, can be adopted, can be,
Okay, that's a very interesting question. I believe that in some cases it's a gift. You see, the reality is politics didn't make me into who I am.
Okay.
I am who I am. Prior to politics, I was popular as a teacher. I was popular as a lecturer. I was popular as a village boy in Lubia and Fobawa. It's about personality. I have always loved people. I was always a people's person. I always cared for people. Loving when I was a little child, walking around with her shoes and selling my produce, I found a way to help everybody. Senior citizens, I remember having a neighbor as a little boy, 9, 10, 11. I took responsibility for throwing his potty in the river. I took responsibility to help him eat when he was in his 90s. And that was one of several senior people I assisted. And when I became a teacher, Montvend, I knew of persons who did not have. I shared my salaries with them, started in my family. So by the time I entered politics, I basically continued with that love that I had for people.
Okay.
So it's not something that I can say, you learn at a school. You either have it or you don't have it. However, if you do not have it, you can pray for it. As the book of James says, if you don't have wisdom, you pray for it. Because in a small country like Dominica, it is very important that people feel you. And I believe that is how persons fell in love with me. I went on the ground and I allowed myself to be who I am. I was never fake. For example, if I entered into a Labour Party house and the people threw attacks at me and my party, I would just keep my calm, allow them to vent, and then cover them with love. I always responded with a positive response. I avoided confrontations. As I said, when I could help, I helped. I believe that's what inspired the people. In me, they saw a genuine person. In me, they saw somebody who is capable, somebody who is competent, somebody who can lead, and somebody who would stand for them. In a small community, Lofty, in as much as we may try to explain to a person why he or she ought to support the opposition, in that we have better ideas, better vision, we have integrity, we have to convince the people that we truly care about them. It's a very small community. We have to show the people that we're accessible. We have to show the people that we are sociable, that we will appear for them if they need us. And that is how myself, and I was also fortunate and blessed and honored to have other persons in my group, in my team with those attributes because they made themselves available. There were times we went and a team of us on Saturdays would select an elderly home and go and clean the home. I had women in my team who actually combed the senior citizens here. I remember there were times we went out, we cut the senior citizen nails. We washed their clothes. We ensured they had food. So those are the type of things that I did with my team in Rosa South. And when I lost the election, in certain respect, it was heartbroken. I could have easily turned my back on Rosa South because I could say, look at all what I did for the people. Because during my 5 years as a member of parliament in Dominica, most of the parliamentary salary, most of the revenue was spent on the people. There are a lot of things I did for the people I never spoke about in the public space because I hold the principle that when your right hand does something for people, the left hand should not know. You know, so I could have easily said lofty that the people are ungrateful, but I did not. I understood that I lost the election because politics generally has become transactional. We went up against a sitting government, a party that is involved in corruptible practices. They contaminated the electoral process. Hence, one of the reasons why we are here this evening to talk about the whole electoral process. But overall, I can say to you, Lofty, what we did in Rosa South in 2014 can be repeated. That is why I've consistently said, in spite of all the monies that the Dominica Labour Party has, the opposition can defeat the Dominica Labour Party. If we have at least 11 people who can win 11 constituencies, people who are serious, people who are prepared to make the sacrifice. And those sacrifices can be very deep and very, 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 very powerful. I'm a living testimony of the sacrifices I made. The sacrifices I made cost me my family. During the campaign period, I had not lost my family, but because of certain decisions I took, like leaving my family behind, standing for Dominica, found myself in a scandal, it cost me several things. But because I was genuine and because God has been on my side, I'm still standing. But hadn't I had God and the love of God and the love of the people, I would not be a factor in Dominica's politics.
Yeah. Let us just take some comments, Josh. Thank you very much. It's always quite refreshing to hear that sort of testimony from you in terms of you being in the politics in Dominica for some time. Dorival Drago writes here, boots on the ground. That's how it must be done. Marshall says here, wow, a working strategy. Clarelyn Warrington says, that's the way to go if we want to reach somewhere. Ferdinand Lawrence writes here, people are not interested in what you have to say until they know that you care. He ends by saying, Josh, great work indeed. John Blanchard writes here, Joshua had a very good team. They worked night and day.
I did.
Hundreds of young people registered. I remember Joel, Joseph, and myself going to Bath Estate to do house-to-house campaigning for
Yes.
Joshua is, yeah, okay, let me just take it again. I remember Joel, Joseph, and myself going to Bath Estate to do house-to-house campaigning for the brother. Joshua, he says here, is very ambitious. He does not give up, and he genuinely loves the people. In my opinion, he would be a good PM. Well. Brother Blanchard, that is very good accolades here. Coming, Joshua. Thank you very much for your writings, your brother. And if Blanchard tells you that, then I know Blanchard very well. He means what he say. Chiquito Thomas says, it's a lot of people on the ground. It's a lot more people on the ground than people they are bringing down, so it can happen on the ground. Alison Peltier, you're watching. Good evening to you as well. Josh, in terms of the comments so far, any of those you'd want to highlight before we head into the meat of the conversation?
Yes, well, I want to thank everybody for the comments. John Blanchard in particular, yes, John made time to do some house campaigning. Lofty, as I said earlier, we had broken our team into fragments. So whilst the team would be on the ground between 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Jodel, another team would be at Emsall or Bath Estate, and John Blanchard was one of the persons. He left the Port Michel constituency to aid the Roseau South constituency. He and Joel being good friends, Joel being a pivotal man at the time. Matter of fact, when I spoke about a friend, it was Joel, Joseph, and I who started this campaign. I remember Joel coming into my office. He sat with me and we devised our strategy. And it was Joel's idea for us to build relationships. Joel said, let us build relationships. Let us go there. Let us meet the people. Let's go at their homes. Let us talk to them. And as stated, I was very honored to have a team of people who cared for others, and they made themselves available. People like Susanna Roll. This lady basically spent her life on the ground for 8 straight months. Her sister likewise, on the ground. A number of people, even Joel's wife, eventually came on the ground to provide support. So we had people who really sacrificed for us to have gotten to that point. Serious sacrifices were made.
Yeah, indeed. Josh, again, I just want to thank you, my brother, for going back there and sort of reliving that story, as it were, as you represented the people of Roseau South, and the hard work, the sacrifice that went into it, and the team that surrounded you. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right. As I said before, well, we have some new persons joining in. Alistair Irish, good evening to you. Crispin, Gregoire, and Glenda, good evening to all of you tuning in at this time. If you're tuning in at this time, you maybe missed the greater part of the testimony from Josh, but thank you that you're there. It's rather late than never, indeed. It is already 10 minutes past the hour of, well, not 10 minutes past, it's 10 minutes to the hour of 7 o'clock in Dominica. And those of you may be tuning in at this time, we're talking to Joshua Francis, and we're going to now to sort of go a bit deeper in the reason why he's here tonight, a practicing attorney in Dominica. We're about to start the confirmation process. That is a process that went to Parliament, basically through bills, and it is now law. There are a lot of legal matters that, as that process unfolds, will have to be undertaken. So Josh is here as a lawyer, and he will help us at least go through some of these processes and, just how we can navigate through as a people, as the electorate, who will be participating in that process. Josh, first and foremost, based on the process itself, you followed that through based on the discussions on the ground, the discussions across the length and breadth of Dominica, the bills went to Parliament, it is now law. How would you describe the process that, we are supposed to be participating in from October the 15th, called the confirmation process, as it relates to help cleaning up the political mess I say we have been in for some time?
Well, Lofty, first of all, let me thank you publicly for being part of that discussion for such a long time. For those on the platform and unaware, I want to say that Loftus Dura happens to be one of the persons in Dominica causing the agitation to bring us to that point where we are today. Loftus Dura being a member of the
CCM then, yes, the Concerned Citizen Movement, yes.
An organizer, he led the organization, and several protest actions were taken by Loftus and his group, as it were. And had it not been for the consistency from that group, from people like Loftus Dura and the United Workers' Party, I am not too sure that we would be at that point today. So I just wanted to publicly thank you, Loftus, for the hard work, for the consistent work, for the vision, for understanding that the electoral process is a pillar in our democracy. And until and unless we get it right, the system would be corrupt and we would have the Dominica Labour Party in government in perpetuity. So, as stated, you fought the fight, and we are at a better place. It could be better, but we're at a better place now. What is happening now ought to have happened many years ago. This was never supposed to be a difficult process, but the process was delayed for several reasons. One is that the government never acted in good faith with the people of Dominica. The people of Dominica, generally through the opposition, have been asking to clean up the voters list. It is simple. We have had a bloated list, a pregnant list, a list consisting over 100,000 voters, when the population of Dominica is just about 70,000, on average 75,000 over the past 25 years. Of course, out of that 75,000, you would look at the voting population, just about 40,000. So when you have a voters list 3 times larger or even 4 times larger than what it's supposed to be, obviously something is wrong. And why did that become a problem? Because yes, in the 80s and in the 90s, we had a bloated voters list, but the political behavior and the political leadership was different. This Dominica Labour Party got involved in stealing and cheating and irregularities to the point where we observe with our own eyes, though the United Workers' Party, the main opposition party as it were, never gained success in the court of law in proving that the Dominica Labour Party engaged in illegal processes. We have living testimonies as a PAL rep, as well as it were as a candidate in 2019 in particular. I saw how these guys operate. We had double voting, where one man would be on the voters list in Grand 4, and that same man is on the voters list in Newtown. He would go to Grand 4 early in the morning, vote in Grand 4, then he finds a way to clean that finger, and he goes to Newtown to vote. And then you had people voting on dead people's name. That's no joke. Some people may want to convince us that never happened. It did happen. So you had people going to certain constituencies after voting on the actual names and purporting or impersonating the dead and voting on that person's name. We also had people voting on names of people in the diaspora. And those who commissioned those acts were agents of the Dominica Labour Party. We also had people who came from a diaspora, had never been to Dominica in the last 10, 15, 20 years. But because they got a ticket paid by the Dominica Labour Party, they found themselves in Dominica on polling day and voted for the Dominica Labour Party. I can say Loftus in 2019, by 1 p.m., I knew that I had lost the election, because by going around on polling day, going to the different polling stations in the different hamlets in the constituency, the number of new faces that I saw, persons I could not recognize. And I was very intimate with my constituents. So once I saw all these new faces, these fresh faces, persons who were in the diaspora plus persons who had come from other constituencies, I knew that I had lost the election. So what is happening here is very important. Now, oftentimes we talk.
Just before, let me just take a pin there, please. Just before you go to, where you're going with us in terms of the confirmation process, let me give you and the public some of the situations that I recall with my own eyes.
Yes.
The 2019 election, Josh, I keep saying that was sort of a wholesale heist of our election in Dominica. Never in Dominica did we witness this sort of manipulation of the electoral process. I, Loftus Durant, I'm not telling you guys something that somebody told me. I witnessed with those 2 eyes. I saw, because I was an outside agent in the valley for Mr. Ronald Charles, the Roseau Valley. And I witnessed on the day of polling a number of people from the valley, precisely the Cochrane area where I was stationed, went into the polling station, cast the ballot, and on their way out, after they did whatever they did in the booth, they went into a little house nearby where a gentleman was standing in the porch of that house with little brown envelopes. Just, do you know the envelopes that our laborers get paid fortnightly,
Yes,
weekly?
yes, yes.
These little brown paper kits. And here was this gentleman standing in the porch of that house in the vicinity of the polling station. And when some of these people came from the polling booth, went directly to that house, and these little envelopes were handed to these people. And I'm not telling you what somebody told me. I witnessed that on a number of occasions during the process on the day. And so you are well on point with some of the illegalities that went on, Josh, not just in your constituency, but throughout the length and breadth of Dominica as it relates to the stealing of elections. And so, yes, I want to agree with you. We should have been through with that confirmation process a long time now, but we are there. And I think we need to make the best use of it to try to clean up the process, and let us be vanguards of our democracy. Let us safeguard our electoral process in Dominica, because no longer should we allow ourselves to be so robbed of our rights, or democratic rights, by, just a politician, a couple politicians just walking away with the process through monies. So I just wanted to add that bit there in terms of what you said, in terms of what you saw on the ground.
Lofty, I'm happy that you added to the testimony, because I want your followers and those on the platform to really appreciate why this confirmation is very important. Where have we been? Where are we, and where are we going? We first have to understand that the electoral process is a very critical component of our democracy. And if it is contaminated, then our democracy will never exist in a truest sense. And Lofty, just as you experienced those irregularities, we experienced it in Roseau South, and I'm sure some of your followers would concede that it happened in their constituency as well. But we cannot and ought not to allow such to repeat themselves in Dominica. Because as I said earlier, unless and until we stand up for what is right, and we must express gratitude for all those who have stood for and on behalf of Dominica in getting this government to finally take some measures and actions to give us something which is more equitable in the process. I am not too sure whether the irregularities will be eliminated completely, because what we have at play is a Labour Party that believes in deception, that believes in playing dirty, that believes in irregularities. And I don't think their behavior or their political DNA has changed. Hence the reason why at the next general election, we have to go out well prepared, and we have to do our utmost, if not read, but to marginalize the amount of irregularities. So, Lofty, here we are right now. Of course, the opposition called for a re-registration process. That would have been the ideal thing, a re-registration. We have seen it happen in places like Antigua. But the Dominica Labour Party felt that having a re-registration process would affect its legacy. It felt that because most Dominicans would want a change of government, that a re-registration process would leave out too many people in the diaspora. And they kept arguing that it would cause disenfranchisement. It would deny persons who are already on the list an opportunity to re-register, and as such, they use that as their main argument to support the confirmation process. Of course, the Dominica Labour Party, having a majority in Parliament, would have its way. So here we are right now. On Wednesday, October 15, 2025, the confirmation process will take off. Now, we're saying confirmation process. The confirmation process starts with the May 31st electors list. May 31st, 2025 electors list. That was the last list that was adopted as the legal list by the Electoral Office of Dominica. So if someone's name, and we are starting with that, if someone's name would have been on the voters list from the 1970s up to December of 2024, but for whatever reason, in May of 2025, that name did not exist, it means then that person cannot confirm. And that name would only be able to get back on the voters list if the person would qualify for registration as a new voter. So I want to start up with that. The list that we are looking at for confirmation is the May adopted voters list of 2025. So the voters list, to confirm, means basically you have to verify. So Loftus on Wednesday, if you wish to be confirmed as a voter in Roseau Valley, you have to find out where your confirmation office would be, because there are going to be different offices. They have already been named and declared.
Yeah.
So you'd have to identify which are the offices in your constituency that you would need to confirm. So you would go to that confirmation desk. At that confirmation center, you would be greeted by enrollment officers who were appointed and supervised by the chief electoral officer. And you would have to provide documents. You would have to work with a witness, not any witness, a witness who is registered to vote and exist on the voters list in that polling district, in a certain polling area in a constituency. So that person himself or herself would have to be confirmed in that particular district. So you work with that witness. Of course, the witness has to be qualified. I'm sure the witness would have to present his or her ID to verify that he is who he says he is.
Okay.
And that also his name would be on the voters list.
Now, just before you move, George, just stick a pin there. How important is that witness to the whole confirmation process? How important is that witness, that person?
It is important because if there is a dispute on the day in question or day after, the witness serves as someone who can corroborate what would have gone down on that particular day. So in other words, if after the verification process, a voter leaves the enrollment center and is confident that his name will appear on the voters list for the next general election, and months before an election, he comes to understand his name is not on the list, then the witness would serve as a party to support his claim that he did confirm his name on the voters list. So I believe the witness serves the purpose of corroboration.
Okay.
All right.
As well, thanks for that. As well,
yeah.
Are there any legal consequences, that is, for a person being a witness may not be a truthful witness, or someone who may be bearing as a false witness? Are there any legal consequences?
Yes, there are legal consequences. The person can be penalized criminally and in civil law, as well as electoral law. If I recall, the registration of electors make provisions for a fine or some kind of sanction for false declarations. And that is why it's important that the enrollment officers would have been trained to go through the documents which will be presented when voters go out there to confirm. they have to review those documents. And the documents that will be considered for the confirmation process are original documents or certified documents. Certified documents meaning that documents that were approved, stamped, sealed, and signed by a justice of peace, a notary public, or a commissioner of oath. So for example, if someone has to send his passport to a consular office or an embassy or to Dominica, and that passport is gone, it would be in the person's interest to have gone to a notary public or justice of the peace with a copy of his biometric page of his passport, get it stamped and sealed before the passport is sent out to the jurisdiction. So that person with the certified copy of either his driver's license, social security card, or the biometric page of his passport would walk with that when he or she goes to confirm his or her name on the voters list. So these are the two types of documents that would be accepted: original documents or certified documents.
If, for example, someone is seeking to be confirmed on that list and is short of one or two, all of these documents, what next, or what?
Well, lofty for Dominicans, for those who are on the voters list and wish to confirm, we do not need all three documents. We would need either a driver's license, a social security card, or a passport. We don't need to work with three of them. We just need one. We just need one. Now, if you do not have any of the above, it means that you will not be able to confirm. And that is where we may have a problem. Because lofty, there are still Dominicans who do not have a social security card, who do not have a driver's license, and do not have a valid passport. Now, it's not just having a passport, because there are people who have not renewed their passport. There are people who have not gotten an electronic passport. So if you have not gotten an electronic passport, meaning that your passport has expired, and you take it to go and confirm your name on the voters list, you are likely to be rejected. A valid national ID card or a passport would mean that it is current. So if your document is expired, if you walk with a driver's license that has expired, it is unlikely to be accepted because it is not valid.
Okay. Alongside these IDs that you speak of, I also read that an original birth paper is also required as well.
Well, that is incorrect. Lofty. That piece of information emanated from a previous decision that was taken by the Electoral Commission of Dominica. And I suspect that decision had been taken simply because of that reality that there are still Dominicans who do not have one of these three documents. They do not have a passport, they do not have a social security card, and they do not have a driver's license. So from my understanding, the commission had taken a decision that persons who are in that predicament could go to a lawyer, get a sworn affidavit signed by a notary public, commissioner of oaths, or justice of the peace, along with their birth certificate, and to take that to the enrollment confirmation officers and get their names confirmed. But eventually that was discarded.
Okay.
So the current position is that you cannot take your birth certificate and or with an affidavit to be confirmed on the voters list of Dominica. If you do not have a passport, you do not have a social security card, or you do not have a driver's license, it means that you will need to get at least one of the above to be able to confirm a name on the voters list. Hence, the reason why it is of urgency that all politicians and the Dominica Labour Party seem to have been engaged in getting its voters to have at least one of these free documents. We have heard that they are paying, or they have paid for persons to get a passport. And therefore, those who support the opposition, I would believe if they can't afford that, we need to support them to be able to get at least one of these documents. If the easiest documents of the free would be the passport. Because if somebody is 60, 65, 50, unemployed, has no means of employment, to get a social security card is more difficult. And of course, if a person does not have a car, or just think of a 70-year-old man. He never drove in his life. It's unlikely he'll go and try to get a driver's license now. But to get the passport would be fair and equitable for most people. So, but they need the money because you have to pay for the stamp. So we have to identify those things, and that's where vigilance comes in, Lofty. That is where leadership comes in. That is where commitment and sacrifice comes in. Because for those of us who are involved, for those of us who aspire to contest the next general election, or we are already positioned in a political party, we have to look at the voters list, identify our supporters, know the people in the constituency, and go out there to find out whether they have any of the above documents. And if they do not have, and we can help, we should help to ensure that they are confirmed, because one vote makes a difference. We do not want to find ourselves at the next general election where a lot of our supporters are not on the voters list because they could not confirm.
Okay, Josh, it is 7:15. Let us just take a little break here at this time as we continue on here after that break. But so far, so good in terms of the information, Josh, that you're giving us here tonight. Let's do this one and we'll be right back in just a bit. Let's do this one. The Tosh.
One is crying out for peace.
Folks, will be coming to your comments in just a bit.
None is crying.
The telephone numbers to call into the program, they are on your screen as we speak as well.
Everyone,
just in case you want to interact or engage with us here.
is, yeah.
It's 245-2396 or 615-9470. These are the numbers to call into the Civic Vibes program.
I don't want no peace. I need equal rights. Justice. I need equal rights.
We're talking to lawyer in Dominica,
I need
Mr. Joshua Francis,
justice. Got to.
as he's explaining to us some of the do's and don'ts and the requirements re this confirmation process that is supposed to start off this week, Wednesday.
Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Followers of Jesus.
Don't be caught off guard, people.
To go up to.
As Joshua rightly said, every vote counts.
None of them want to die.
So yes, be counted.
Don't want no peace. I might need equal rights and justice. I got to get it. Equal rights and justice. I really need it. Equal rights and justice. Just give them my share. Equal rights and justice. What is due to Caesar?
Brother Selassie Kenrick, good evening to you. Mr. Peter Carbon and the host of you there.
And what belongs to I?
Yes, we'll get to some of your comments in just a bit.
I give it up to I. 'Cause I don't want no peace.
It's all about helping educate the people, which will empower you guys out there. That's the purpose of the Civic Vibes conversation each and every Sunday. It's to educate, to help empower.
And justice, I'm fighting for it, equal rights. And justice, everyone heading for the top. But tell me, how far is it from the bottom? Nobody knows, but everybody fighting to reach the top.
My friend in Antigua and Barbuda, you're locked in as well.
Bottom.
She writes here, Lofty, I am witnessing, I'm seeing rather, you guys have an uphill battle re-cleaning that process. We too, in Antigua and Barbuda, we had to put down our foot.
I've got to get equal rights and justice. I really need it. Equal rights and justice. Everyone is talking about crime. Tell me, who are the criminals? I said everybody's talking about crime.
Marlene Shillingford, good evening to you. Peter Martin, good evening to you as well, says here on the YouTube. Mr. Francis, thank you very much.
Want no peace. I need equal rights.
Peter Martin says, thank you. If UWP win the election, I would put you, that is Mr. Joshua Francis, as Security Minister of Dominica.
There'll be no criminals. Equal rights and justice. Everyone is fighting for equal rights.
Gemma Daniel, good evening to you.
And is fighting for
Edward Saint Jean, more love to you as well. Thank you for listening.
down in Angola. Equal rights.
Yes, equal rights and justice indeed. That is what we are all about here.
Equal rights and justice. Down in Zimbabwe. Equal rights.
All right, folks, it is 20 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Let's get back to our guest here, Mr. Joshua Francis, as we continue on right here. Josh, you were saying I'll be sending some question your way in just a bit, but yes, you were saying before the break.
Yes, so we are talking about the process when someone goes to the confirmation desk, that he has to go with a witness, he has to walk with documents. We mentioned the documents which are acceptable, a passport, social security card, or a driver's license. The person would also need to fill in a form, a prescribed form. And I'm just looking at the form, which is, of course, part of the Registration of Electors Act. There's a form called Form 31, and that form has to be filled in. And I was just looking at what would be on that form, and I noted that what would be on that form would be the name of the elector. And so the person would have to give his first name, his last name, the name of his parents. I think more than father, of course, in some cases, parents would have been dead. So I don't know how important that would be. Yeah, Form 31. So I'm seeing here you have to give your last name, your middle name, first name, your date of birth, place of birth, your social security number, if you have one, your father's name, your mother's name, your marital status, your work telephone number, if you're working, home telephone number, if you have one, your nationality, your any other particulars, your marital status, of course, and then the date that you would be putting in your application, and signature. All right, so that Form 31 would have to be signed. All right, prior to that, it says, let's just say you, Loftus Jura, your name has to be in block letters of polling district number, whatever in the constituency of Roseau Valley, hereby apply for confirmation of registration as an elector. The following information is submitted in connection with my application. And CT, because remember, you're making an application, so it's not an automatic result that you're going to get on the day. You have to go through the process. So that is part of it. So after you fill in that form, and the form must be filled in the presence of an enrollment officer. So you're not going to take the form, go home or go in your vehicle and come back with it. It has to be done in the presence of the enrollment officer for whatever reason. I would think one of the main reasons would be the enrollment officer would provide a supporting cast. He or she would assist you in filling in the form. All right. That information, of course, the entry of the applicant data is an electronic system. So that is going in an electronic database. And with that would be a photograph and scanned document. So after you fill in the form, I'm not too sure whether you're going to be given an actual hard copy form or you're going to stand with an enrollment officer to fill in the form electronically, which I suspect is the case. And after that, you are going to get, or your document is going to be scanned by the enrollment officer, and that is going to form part of your data in the electronic database. So after that, your application will be reviewed by a dual screen setup. All right. So your form will be reviewed. You will get an opportunity to review your form in the presence of the enrollment officer. And of course, the witness document and form would also be taken into consideration. Well, I'm not too sure. I'm not seeing anything that says a witness has to fill in a form as well. But I suppose if the witness may be asked to sign something to confirm that he or she witnessed your application.
Yeah.
And you will get a receipt. And the receipt will come in the form of another form. And they said form 32. So let me just take note of what will be on that form. It says here, registration of electors, regulations, declaration by person in service overseas. Now that is, I think that form has changed because one of the important questions that people keep asking is whether confirmation is going to be taking place overseas. And Lofty, I think by now we are satisfied that all confirmation will be taking place in Dominica, correct?
Yes, yes, that is what was mentioned and
Yes.
confirmed by the office.
Right. So all confirmations, right, are taken. So here we go, Lofty. After one would have completed the process, the receipt would be given to him or her. It is very important that we keep our receipt. So once we get that receipt, we then have to place it somewhere where it is safe. So in the event there is an issue, in the event when the voters list is published, that is a confirmed list. If for some reason or the other, your name does not appear on the list, then the receipt would play an important part in going forward, whether an appeal or in whatever way and means in clarifying that matter and getting redress. So saving the receipts is critical.
Sure. All right, Josh, so far so good. Yes. Any other thing you want to plug in there before I go to some of the comments or questions on the feed?
Well, what I would want to say, Lofty, is that for those who are on the platform, either ourselves or we inspire others to get confirmed as early as possible. So once the doors for the confirmation process starts on Wednesday, we have to do our utmost to get confirmed or to put in our application as quickly as possible. And to look out for the people around us. Yes.
Yeah, we all know Dominicans have a habit that is of sort of, waiting last minute to do certain things. So you're encouraging Dominicans by and large to get to the program early enough.
Yes, definitely. And of course, Lofty, for those who wish to read on the law
Josh, just stick a little pin there,
yes.
really low aspect. We have a caller
Yes.
on the line. Let's see if we can facilitate that caller. Yes, caller, good
Yes.
evening. You're on Civic Vibes.
Hey, good evening, Lofty and Joshua.
Yes, good evening.
Lofty, I've heard
Good evening.
Joshua read out the necessaries for going to re-register. I heard him saying of some documentation that you need, but nowhere anything did it specifically say what identification you need. That's one.
Not to register, so to confirm, Joshua.
To confirm.
Yes.
To confirm. Right? It does not say that you need. Secondly,
it does not say what you said. It doesn't say what.
I didn't hear him call out saying that according to the list he just read out. He just read out the list,
yes.
And it says your date of birth, your this, your that, your mother's name, father's name.
Yes.
Nowhere did I hear it specify that you need an identification.
No,
right? No. Now my next point is this. If I have a passport, it expired last month. I go with it. Does it mean that it is not me? Because all you need is something to identify a person and say that this is the person who is coming to register. So why then do I need a valid passport or a valid driver's license or a valid social security? Isn't an ID what you're asking for? And my final point, we all know that the re-registration has been monitored and conducted by the Electoral Commission. We know that the Electoral Commission has not been upfront with us. Thank goodness that Hillary and the other gentlemen have been on there to give us some information. Now, they are allowed to select the workers in there who will do the re-registration. Who says that they are not going to collude amongst themselves? That is the Labour Party faction, which is in the majority, with the workers that they will elect, and produce some cocoa macaque in the system. So my point is, why isn't the opposition and even the same government, why don't they have people in that six working who will be there to say, yes, I know that person, yes, I know that person, and to ensure that everything is done above board in that place on behalf of their party.
All right, caller. Thank you very much. Your points taken on board. The points well made. Joshua Francis is here. I'll give him a chance to respond. Thank you.
Yes, Lofty, thank you. And let us thank the caller for his contribution. In terms of an ID, it is universal that for an ID to be considered to be valid, it has to be current. So this is not only for the confirmation process, but for anything involving operation of law. And the voters list is grounded on an instrument of law. There are procedures and there are legal systems to facilitate the process. And therefore, for the ID to be valid, it must be current. So whether one's passport expired or will expire tomorrow, on Wednesday, that passport cannot be used. And if that person, that applicant, does not have another ID that is current, it means the person will have to renew his passport or to get another ID that is current to be able to go and confirm. And then in respect to the form, what I read out was, or is what is on the form. And there is a little slot that speaks of social security number. But again, the form is just, as he rightly pointed out, is to verify that the elector or the voter is indeed that person who would have appeared to make the application. And further to that, the person's ID will be scanned and will be uploaded electronically to be part of the electors database.
All right, Josh, thank you very much. He also made a third point in terms of this. Well,
witness.
He thinks of there may be, that's his perception, there some collusion by the electoral office, really enrollment officers and the DLP. We cannot speak to that, but that was his perception. Josh, you well understand there are many, many questions coming at you. So let me just take some time now to get to some of them here. Let me go to the YouTube channel first and foremost. This person here is saying, so if my name is not on the newly adopted electors list of May 25, then can I be confirmed? That's what that person is asking.
No, the person cannot be confirmed. A confirmation would mean that one's name is on the voters list. And that voters list we are talking about is the adopted one, the latest May 2025.
Okay.
So if the name is not on that list of May 2025, it means that person cannot be confirmed. And for the person to be able to vote in our next general election, the person would have to be treated as a new elector and to register. Well, I'm not even going to say re-register because legally it means the person is not registered.
Not registered, yes.
The person would have to register to vote.
Okay. Okay.
And as you know, Lofty, to register to vote in Dominica, the person would have to be in residence in Dominica in a particular polling district for at least 3 months. And likewise, the person will need a witness to go to a registering officer somewhere in his constituency to get registered to vote.
Okay. Janice Roy says here, or asked the question here, is the reconfirmation going to be, people keep saying reconfirmation, but it's confirmation.
Confirmation.
But I'll read the question as is the reconfirmation going to be cross-referenced against other polling districts to ensure no one reconfirms at multiple locations? Because I guess that is more specifically directed to the electoral office, but you're a lawyer. How would you advise on that?
Well, that's a very good question, Lofty, because we have had that problem. A lot of us have focused on ghost voting, meaning people voting on people's name who are dead. But that has also been a problem, double voting. At the heel of the program, I mentioned that in the last election that I partook, 2019, I became aware that there were persons who were registered in Roseau South as well as in other constituencies, and they successfully voted in both constituencies. So the question that follower posed is a very important question, and I would think that electronically that the system would remedy a situation like that. Taking into consideration, Lofty, that sometimes we have people with the same names. So you may have a Joshua Francis in Portsmouth and you also have a Joshua Francis in Louvière. But these are two different Joshua Francises, and that is where the IDs come in.
Josh, I'm seeing this sort of common denominator scenario question being posed here. And let me just punch it at you. Some persons are suggesting that the MEFAC, some persons have to get, or persons have to get IDs, passport, driver's license, social security card to vote. That is a very expensive, or this can be very expensive, and this should not be.
Well, Lofty, given that
or some are even suggesting that it should be the electoral office taking on. Let us say I Loftus Zira is I need my passport. Some persons are suggesting here that it is the electoral office that's supposed to be footing that bill.
Well, of course, there are different views and opinions, but we have to also consider that even when you are registering to vote, even when you are trying to become a new elector, you are supposed to provide a national ID. And I do agree, especially given the fact that we do have indigent people amongst us, and they may not be able to afford to get a passport or to apply for a driver's license. As I said earlier, the older persons, particularly those who never drove, who never had a driver's license, that option is almost unavailable to them.
Yeah.
And to get a social security card, which is maybe the cheapest means, to get a social security card, you have to meet certain requirements. You need probably to show that you have an employer or you're self-employed. And therefore, if you are not able to do that, you will not be qualified to get a social security card. Unlike some countries, once you're a national, you automatically are entitled to a social security number and a social security card. Interestingly, in our jurisdiction here, I have come to realize that to get a social security card or social security number, you must show or you must do it through an employer, whether you're self-employed or for a third party. But getting a passport in terms of not having hurdles would be the easiest, except for the finances.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we may have to assist those who are in situations where they cannot afford to get any of the above, if they can get one of the above.
Yeah. Chandra Sanval says here, while that may be true, we in the opposition need to make sure that we assist our people in obtaining the required IDs. I think you alluded to that earlier.
Yes.
Andy Matthews says, good evening, gentlemen. Great program, Mr. Francis, a true Kalinago warrior, which consistently fights for its people and country. True preacher, thanks for service to country, whatever it is. Thank you, Brother Matthew, for your commenting here. Peter Carbon writes, no voter. I guess we dealt with that, but Josh, you could just respond again to Mr. Carbon. No voter on the voters list should have to pay for confirmation. The electoral office should meet the cost of that process. Again, just to rehash your
right. Well, again, as I said, that is just another view. It does have merit in it, but that boat has sailed. The confirmation process starts on October 15th, which is Wednesday. And the reality is that one of these IDs must be available for someone to register to vote. So I don't see the regulation or the law changing. And it's a question now of ensuring that we confirm and the people around us confirm. Those of us involved in politics, the leaders, it's our responsibility to assist those who need assistance to confirm their names on the voters list.
Yeah, indeed. What about the persons? I guess we touched on that earlier as well, but some persons are still asking. What about persons who may be visiting Dominica? They are on the list and would want to be confirmed. They are not living in Dominica, but they're visiting, now and then, and they want to be confirmed.
Okay, so the people who will be visiting may be one of two categories. The people who are on the list, the voters list, as adopted in May of 2025, and living in diaspora or living elsewhere, and they're visiting primarily during that World Music World Festival and eventually Christmas and Carnival. They are either Commonwealth citizens. Keep in mind, there are voters or persons on the voters list who are not Dominicans, but citizens of the Commonwealth, meaning that they could be a citizen of St. Vincent, Guyana, Canada, the UK. They once lived in Dominica for at least 6 months and successfully registered to vote. Their name is on the voters list. For those Commonwealth citizens, they would have to present their passport. So for example, if someone from the UK, a UK citizen, registered to vote in Dominica, is visiting for the World Music World Festival, he would have to provide a copy of his passport, again a valid passport, and at least a picture of a national ID, one other ID. So in the case of a Commonwealth citizen, he needs to provide two IDs, his passport and another national ID, whether a driver's license, social security card, or a national ID card. And for a Dominican, like us who are residing here, that person would just need to provide one of the three: the passport, driver's license, or social security card. Now the question is, if that person has done away with his Dominican passport, because there are some Dominicans who have naturalized, example in the US or Canada, and they're traveling on their foreign passport. They do not have a local passport. The question is whether, if they do not have a local driver's license, they do not have a social security card, they do not have a local passport, a Dominican passport, whether one of the IDs which they are traveling with could be used to verify the identity and be allowed to confirm to vote. Now, I have not heard the electoral office address that matter, but I would think that one of their IDs would still be valid because it's a valid ID.
Yeah.
And on the question of the voters list, keep in mind, again, the boat has sailed. The law recognizes that once your name is on the voters list, whether you have visited Dominica 40 years ago, whether you have not been in Dominica for the last 60 years, once your name is on the voters list, you can confirm your name on that list. Your name remains.
Next question here to you, Josh. What's the recourse if an election officer or enrollment officer puts up barriers that hinder or slows the confirmation process?
Well, in such a situation, the regulation provides for the applicant to report the matter to the chief elections officer. A matter of fact, that can happen on the same day in question. So if someone goes into an enrollment office in one of the polling districts and he or she encounters problems with the enrollment officers for whatever reason, then that applicant can call the chief elections officer's office. I think there will be numbers available to report his or her challenges, hoping to get redress at that very hour to remedy the situation.
Yeah, thanks. In terms of the database that you spoke of earlier, where this information will be stored, what do you think, Josh, in terms of the electorates now information being in there in terms of, you know, not being used for the intended purpose? Any advice along those lines to now the commission / the electoral office?
Well, I did not see on the form anything that would suggest whether the electoral office would be allowed to use our information for other purposes. But again, unlike many jurisdictions, I don't know whether we're at that level where when we submit our IDs to government bodies, whether the question of whether these bodies are allowed to use our information or data for other purposes. I really do not know why would the electoral office want to use our information for other purposes. But if it were to get to that point, it would be left to the electoral office to inform the people of Dominica and maybe to provide an opportunity to give us in deciding whether we want that to be or not. Or it would just be a case where Big Brother does as he wishes. Our information is out there and Big Brother uses it as he wishes.
But Josh, do you see the process, the confirmation process, if it is done properly, helping cleanse that old bloated list?
Yes, significantly. Significantly. Again, based on the law, this confirmation process is supposed to take 1 year. So we are looking at the 15th of October 2025 to the 15th of October 2026 with a provision for an extension of 3 months if necessary. I'm just trying to confirm that's what it says. Yeah, confirmation period, section 49 of the Registration of Electors Act reads, as soon as practicable after the effective date and in any event not later than 30 days thereafter, the Commission shall by order declare a period being not less than 12 months to be the confirmation period for the purpose of this part, and may in like manner extend the period so declared, so however, that the period initially declared together with any extension thereof shall not exceed 15 months. Meaning that after the 12-month period, if the electoral office requires an extension, it will not exceed 3 months, a total of 15 months. So that takes us October, November, December. So by January of 2027, confirmation will be sealed.
Done, yes.
And done. And in that regard, what that means, Lofty, for persons who would not have confirmed, their names would be eliminated. So in 2025, we have this list over 100,000. In May of 2025, over 100,000 electors. Some of these people will naturally not show up to confirm because the name is there, but the people are dead. Some of those people are in the diaspora. They have no interest in voting in Dominica. Within that 12 months or 15 months, they will not make an effort to come to confirm. Because remember, along the journey in seeking modernization of our electoral process, there was a big debate as to whether we are going to accept the initial proposal by the Dominican Labour Party and our government to have confirmation offices set out in the diaspora. Remember, Lofty, there was that big debate.
Yes, yes.
Right, because the electoral office seemed to have adopted on the electoral commission, more so, had to debate the issue of whether such desks and offices were going to set up in consular offices. And this debate went on. And today, we have settled on having the confirmation process done in Dominica. So overall, Lofty, I would expect a significant number of names on the current voters list to be eliminated, hence a cleaner voters list.
Josh, with every system, especially as we are about to start that process, right? There are a lot of persons who will be skeptical based on past experiences and habits of the Dominican Labour Party. Anything of note that you'd want to sort of alert the Dominican public to look out for as that process unfolds?
Well, we have to be vigilant, and all of us, particularly those of us who are leaders, whether being on the front line or being part of a leadership team politically, we have to take note of the current voters list. We have to take note of the names of the people who are dead and people who were aware in the diaspora. So by having that list, when that new confirmed list comes out, we can make a comparative analysis and amongst ourselves decide or confirm whether in fact that process would have been legit or not. So for example, Lofty, if you're aware that a particular person has passed on and his name is on the list, naturally you would expect that name to be removed because a dead man cannot confirm. So if when this new confirmed list is issued, you take note of the list with the dead names in mind. And if for one reason or the other you see a dead person's name, that would be evidence that something did not go down right.
Yeah.
And that one example would suggest to you that a system would not have been dealt with fairly. So we just have to be positive.
True. Can someone, Josh, especially someone living outside of Dominica for umpteen years, as it were, basically just make a call now to the office and say, hey, I want my name to be deleted from that list as the process kicks on? I'm not hearing.
Not according to the procedure.
Okay.
Not according to the process. As we said, for someone to be confirmed or to confirm, the person would have to make an application in person in a confirmation district in Dominica.
No, I was
so
asking,
as of Wednesday.
Yeah, yes. I was asking the reverse, whether someone living outside of Dominica or even someone living in Dominica can call the office and say, hey, I am not part of the process. I do wish to be part of the process. Delete my name from that list. Oh.
Well, if someone wants to do that, again, there are existing mechanisms for someone to be removed as an elector. So I would think that in such a situation, either the person wait to be eliminated by failing to confirm,
okay,
or the person could haste to adopt the existing mechanism to be removed as an elector. There are prescribed forms for that. So it's up to the person. But a mere call is not going to and should not and ought not to remove somebody on the voters list.
All right. Tyron Nicholas talks about there, the commission have not yet addressed the disproportionate representation due to the lack of review of the Constituency Boundaries Commission. Would you just mind touch on that as we sort of on that? There are some constituencies which are, you know, much larger than others.
Well, so
and
that
some
has
people,
not been,
and some people think that it's sort of, you know, an unfair advantage to some in the whole political process.
well, yes, and I do agree. And the law provides for gerrymandering and for variation of political boundaries. But that is beyond what we have done and what we're discussing right now. The government of Dominica would have to engineer what boundary they would want to change. And of course, that would be done with political intentions. Because traditionally, politicians, well, more so the Prime Minister and his team, would gerrymander based on getting advantages to stay in office. When was the last gerrymandering done in Dominica? Was it under the Dominica Freedom Party? I think when the Pebush constituency, I think what happened? I think Ans the May and wherever were removed from Pebush constituency and put in the Postma constituency. Is that correct?
I'm not too sure about that. What I know is that the I was told that the Mahu constituency, there was some gerrymandering that went on as well, in that Cochrane was part of that constituency, but through some sort of machinations by the DFP, Cochrane ended up in the valley because whoever was stronger there, whatever it is. And if you look at it, you really have to pass through Mao constituency to get to Cochrane. It's, you know, so it's sort of really unfair in terms of that whole aspect that Tyron spoke of. So that too needs to be looked into.
Yeah, well, definitely, because I mean, that takes us to even a wider conversation. Because earlier on, when we spoke about my success in Roseau in 2014, one would appreciate that this is one of the largest constituency, and therefore my sacrifice would be more enormous than someone who contested a constituency which is geographically smaller and mathematically smaller. So some of us have to tread over a very wide terrain to meet our constituents versus others who have a very small constituency, geographically and otherwise. And that does not and is not a level playing field. But again, that is left to the political leadership and directorate. They would make decisions which would be in the best interest of the party in government. And I guess that's part of the democracy. You know, taking decisions for a political party first before the people. The type of democracy that we have.
Yeah, Josh, I'm trying to get to a statement that I heard coming out from the chairman, the chairperson, that is Mr. Duncan Stu. But for some reason, that statement is sort of eluding me at this time.
Right.
I will try to get it before we end. But anything else, Josh, of note that you'd want to add to the discussion before we bring it to a wrap?
Well, Lofty, this whole modernization of our electoral process must continue because one of the largest vacuums in this whole process is the absence of campaign finance legislation. We do not have any regulation in respect to campaign finance, and that will continue to be a major problem in our democracy because politics has become transactional. And until and unless we hold political parties to account for their source of funds, we are going to have an unlevel playing field. Naturally, a government carries a significant advantage over opposition parties in raising funds. Unless if the government is extremely unpopular and the writing is on the wall that when an election is called, it will lose. As we know, this Dominica Labour Party government has been able to attract a lot of money by whatever means, and the people of Dominica have been in the dark. It is really unfair that ordinary citizens, when he or she has to transact a deposit at one of our two banks in Dominica, must provide source of funds based on the amount of money he or she wants to deposit. As you know, recently, Lofty, the law changed to facilitate Dominicans to deposit at least 10,000 US dollars without necessarily providing source of funds. Now, why would a bank want to know where your money comes from?
Yeah.
The justification for that is to prevent money laundering and to curb financial crimes. So if ordinary citizens have to answer to a bank in respect to its funds, why shouldn't a political party be accountable to the people as to where it is getting its money from? Nobody gives free lunches, Lofty Dura. When a political party gets money, and the kind of money that this Labour Party has been getting, the question is, who is giving the money? And for what in exchange? And that must continue to be held as a national conversation. We must not give up. We must work towards a Dominica where our country is more open, more transparent, and our politicians are held accountable. It does not take rocket science to understand that when a political party gets millions of dollars, the donor, the person or entity which gives the money naturally would want something in return. And that is why many Dominicans are suspicious that the true rulers of Dominica goes beyond the Dominica Labour Party. The true rulers go beyond the Dominica Labour Party because they are the donors. They are the ones who give, and therefore they are the ones who influence. After all, if a man or a company were to give the Dominica Labour Party $5 million, then naturally that person or entity will have influence over decisions taken by the Dominica Labour Party. And it's simple as that. And not only it is important that we look for accountability and transparency, but also to eliminate corruption in the electoral process. Because as noted by you with your own cocozier, with your own eyes, Lofty, on polling day, the Dominica Labour Party was allowed by our people to give away envelopes of monies as rewards for a vote for the Dominica Labour Party. I saw it with my eyes. When I went to Baffin State on polling day in 2019, I noted that there were certain individuals around the polling centers giving away envelopes, purportedly what appeared to be money. Why was it able to do that? Because it had money. The Labour Party had money. So for us to be able to extirpate or to read that kind of political behavior, we need campaign finance legislation. We do not only just need to pass the legislation, we need to go beyond that. When we do pass the legislation, we need to enforce the legislation. Because until such time, the Labour Party of Dominica will steal elections in Dominica. They will have more money than the opposition, and they'll be able to buy vulnerable people. And that's what has been happening. People suffer. They complain. They cry. They call you on the trees in secret places. They complain about their plights. But during the hunting season, during the campaign season, they get monies from these Dominica Labour Party agents, and all of a sudden they forget the struggles they would have gone through over the last 5 years. And due to their vulnerability, they go into the polling stations and support the oppressor, the same ruler that would have kept them in poverty for the last 25, 27 years by the time the next election may be called. So I urge us to keep that conversation alive. We must continue to request legislation dealing with campaign finance. That is very important. But for now, based on what we have, Lofty, we must encourage our people to confirm. That is what we have. Let's make the best out of it. For those who do not have monies to renew their passports or to get a passport, we need to seek funding to assist them. Those of us who have the money, let us help. And if we don't have the money, to look for the money to help those people, because this next general election is a do or die election for Dominica. Dominica has gone and fallen. Dominica is no longer on a precipice. Socially, Dominica is going down a precipice, but there is hope. We can salvage Dominica. But if we allow this Dominica Labour Party to win the next general election, we will only fall deeper into the precipice. And therefore, it would mean that it would take much more for us to get back on our feet, to have a country with integrity, a country with progress, a country with fairness, a country with equity, a country with advancement, a country with a good standard of living. The only answer for Dominica right now is to have this Dominica Labour Party removed. And the process has started. The confirmation process is part of the journey to remove this government once and for all.
Yeah, just before we go, the clip that I wanted to play from Mr. Duncan Stool, where he shut down the idea of this free movement of people from Dominica to Belize and other countries being part of the process in some way, shape, or form. Let me just let you hear what he had to say. That is the chairman, Mr. Duncan Stool. Your response, and then we'll bring it to a wrap in just a bit. Duncan Stool.
Well, the law is very clear as it relates to Commonwealth citizen. So a Barbadian coming into Dominica and living in Dominica, and he would have to satisfy the law in order to get on the voters list. He would have to be there at least 12 months prior, continuously residing in Dominica in order to get on the voters list. So it is just not possible for a Bajan to come into Dominica and within a month get on the voters list. It's not possible. Well, the governments have been talking about free movement of people for many years. So it's my take on it. It just so happens it coincides with our process of reform. I don't believe that the decision to allow the free movement to put the full free movement of people into effect, I don't think that that is a deliberate thing to coincide with the process of confirmation in Dominica. I don't think so, because free movement has been spoken about for many years in the region.
Duncan Stowe, in terms of his comments, really free movement of people from Dominica and other parts of the region. Your comment, Josh, based on what you heard.
I just want to support what was said by Mr. Stowe. In the past, under the old election, under the old Registration of Electors Act, a Commonwealth citizen could register to vote after 6 months of residence in Dominica, but now it's 12 months. So though we have opened our jurisdiction to 3 other Commonwealth or CARICOM members, it is not an automatic qualification for one of these nationals, whether Barbados or Guyana or another, could and should and can simply register to vote. That person would have to stay there for at least 12 months. And that's the law. So Mr. Duncan is very correct on that. So I know, again, Dominicans have a mistrust. They're wary of the process, and for right reasons, and questions like that are in the public.
Yeah. Just before you go, I see the live feed and the number of shares tonight. They generated much conversation tonight among the people, and so I can see that or sense that there's this appetite for the space, the process rather, to be freer and fairer in terms of how we select and thereby elect representatives to serve us in Dominica through the different constituencies. So Josh, I want to thank you very much. But just before I go there, let me just ask you something that has been on the minds, on the lips of Dominicans by and large. It is this RSS unit in Dominica conducting searches, sort of going into people's homes and doing searches here, there, and everywhere, in the quest, as it is said, of reading the streets of illegal guns and illegal goods. Your take, you being a lawyer, as to what was or has been still unfolding in Dominica.
Well, Lofty, thank you for the question. We're at that point because over the past few months, Dominica experienced a significant increase in the number of homicides. And the Minister of National Security and his cabinet, his people, they came to the conclusion that the presence or the invitation of RSS into Dominica may help curb gun violence and death caused by unlawful or illegal firearms. Of course, from where I stand, that has to be a component, that has to be a part of the strategy to read illegal firearms in Dominica. RSS presence alone cannot possibly resolve that issue. Like any other issue, whether social, economic, psychological, or scientific, we must go into the roots causes for gun violence in Dominica. And generally, crimes are based on sophistications. The crimes must be looked from a multifaceted point of view because there are multiplicities of causes. You have economic causes. And if we quickly look at the economic causes in Dominica, one would accept that Dominica has a huge youth unemployment problem. Dominica has a huge youth underemployment problem. And I add and started the youth because when we look at the demographics, we look at the data, the people who are being killed and the people who are being accused of killing are young people, more so young men. Why is it that our young people, our young men, are involved in possession of illegal firearms? Well, economically, I mentioned, they are idle. They do not have jobs which are very attractive, jobs which would satisfy their economic thirst. Therefore, some of them gamble with their lives. They take risk of getting involved in trafficking drugs, being part of gangs, fighting for territorial interest. So that's one. If you look at it from a social point of view, we could say that cultural penetration has influenced our young people in recent times. Dominica, by extension, the general public seem to have not only tolerated a new type of music, but accepted certain types of music which put people on edge or make people less respectful, less religious, more secular. And with those type of influences, people seem to be more edgy. People seem to be less tolerant. People seem to be less involved in conflict resolution from an amicable point of view. Again, if we look at this from a religious point of view, Lofty, even this morning, had you gone out to look at the churches, you would note that the young people don't go to church anymore. And those who go to church are more senior people, the ladies. Then you have the issue of the role of men in our society. Generally, men are frustrated. They are unemployed. They are being marginalized, and that has affected their traditional role of keeping the family together. So where we were being disciplined by our fathers or grandfathers, that now seems to be out of the window. The father is out there, he's more consumed in his personal problems. He cannot pay his mortgage, or he cannot get a mortgage. He cannot pay his bills. So all of a sudden, he is not properly armed to control his family. So you find family under pressure. You find men under pressure, women under pressure. So you find more dysfunctional families. We go into you look at it from an educational point of view. We have more degrees, but we have less wisdom. We have more houses, but we have less homes. Because putting up a concrete structure and giving it to the people of Dominica does not create what traditionally we consider to be a home, where you have a family, an extended family, a nuclear family, based on values, based on structure, based on routines, based on visions. Now, we have the concrete structure, but as I said earlier, we have more dysfunctions, absent fathers. So I'm just mentioning a few root causes for where we are in Dominica as far as gun violence is concerned. We cannot be hypocrites. We have gone down a slippery slope in terms of our social and religious point of view. And another thing that has contributed to gun violence in Dominica naturally is an increase in the number of illegal firearms in our society. How do the firearms get there? We do not manufacture firearms. They are brought onto our shores. Is it that our national architecture for security is not the best? Surveillance of our borders, the seaports need improvements. So these are just some of the root causes, and therefore RSS is just part of this. Now RSS is here, and they have been successful in arresting a few persons being in possession of firearms. Maybe how many? 5. And then, of course, when they leave, they're not going to be there forever. What happens? Are we going to get a resurgence of more gun violence? Because right now, the gangs seem to have gone undercover. They are quiet. People have hidden their firearms. As soon as RSS leaves our shores, are they going to be confident again to walk around with their illegal firearms and shoot one another? Is it that they have less respect for the police in Dominica? Why is it that the police could not get the job done? Did the police exhaust all it means in fighting gun violence before RSS came in? Is it that the people of Dominica do not trust the police? Is that the police itself does not trust itself? Because you're hearing stories about when the police come together to have strategies to go out on the field, that before they actually leave the office, that the people who have the firearms are notified that the police is coming. So that's where we are, Lofty. And the issues with crimes and violence and the police are just part of a bigger problem in Dominica. This country has gone down south. And until there is a change of leadership, a change of vision, a change of the social and economic infrastructure in Dominica, the country will rot further. And more people will be holding their heads. So on this RSS issue, I have had to deal with a number of persons in the police cells at the police headquarters. And a number of these people are arrested persons for possession of marijuana. And I have some concerns about that. A lot of search warrants are being executed, and most of these people are poor people's children. RSS, guided by our local police officers, enter the homes and they arrest people for 200 grams of marijuana and leave them in the police cell for 3 days, 4 days. That is ludicrous in a country where we ourselves, our government, has legalized or decriminalized the possession of 28 grams or less, and to allow us to plant. And 28 grams, meaning that you can walk around with 28 grams or less of marijuana. And we saw what's happening around. The young men have gone beyond that. They smoke their weeds while they drive around. Even bus drivers sometimes pull out a joint and smoke it while driving. The government allowed that. They have also allowed us to have free plants at our home. So under God's son, can somebody explain to me why is it that the law has allowed us to have free plants at our home? And when a man harvests one of the plants and he puts up some weed in a calabash weighing 300 grams, that police is picking him up and put him in a dirty, stinky, smelly cell for 2 nights, 3 nights. Can somebody explain that to me? So I want to take this opportunity for the police who is on the platform and for those who will hear me, that to exercise discretion. You go out there with RSS, you execute a search warrant, you get no firearm, you get no cocaine, you get no other illegal substance. Why pick up a man for his little marijuana that he's using to smoke in the confines of his home? I'm not supporting any man to have a whole set of marijuana for commercial purposes. And if a man does that, woe unto the man, each to his own. But I'm just saying that RSS, whilst they are here, our police must not act arbitrarily and indiscreetly, because it is not the police that will solve the problem here in Dominica as far as crimes are concerned. As a matter of fact, the police is part of the problem. And all of us know that there are certain police officers at the higher level. They ought not to have been police officers because they ought to have been disciplined for being part of alleged illegalities in the past. And they know themselves. So that is the type of hypocrisy that exists here on the island, Lofty. And sometime in the future, of course, we will examine, with your permission, some of the problems we have here and why we need a change of government.
Josh, well said, well put. Thank you very, very much indeed. I want to thank you again for, making time to just come and have this conversation with us, the Dominican public tonight, read the different topics that we covered here tonight. So again, Josh, thank you very much. Any parting words as you leave tonight? But just before your parting word, Josh, let me take that opportunity to ask you again. I know you said it on a number of occasions, on a number of different platforms, but sometimes some people in Dominica, they choose not to hear. So again, I just want to ask you, is Joshua Francis willing to be part and parcel of any entity, any organization that would be willing to basically remove legally, that is, the Dominica Labour Party from the backs of the struggling people of Dominica?
Well, Lofty, I get that question all the time. It's interesting that on Friday, I was walking from the police headquarters, going onto Kennedy Avenue to enter my office. And I met a group of men standing on the roadside. And one man said to me, Joshua Francis, you have broken my heart. I have a bobo in my heart. And I asked him, how was I able to do that?
Yeah.
And he said to me, the day when I declared that I was no longer involved in UWP and politics, that I broke his heart, and he has not recovered. And the conversation spilled to the question which you just asked: are you willing to be part of the opposition? And when I say opposition, I'm talking about entities and parties and individuals to remove this Dominica Labour Party government. And the response that I gave to them is consistent to what I'm about to say to you, Lofty. I was born for that. I, of course, presented myself to the people of Dominica. I had a glorious moment. I won on the first outing, and I went through a very difficult period. And the period that I went through rested on my political success. And then I made a comeback in 2019. I was unsuccessful. And since then, I have been on the low. I have attempted to come back on a new political platform, the United Progressive Party platform, which still is in its embryonic stage. But even then, it has gone quiet. And I have been quiet, focused on my legal practice. And Lofty, sometimes I wrestle with myself. I am happy that I have taken a break. I have enjoyed elevation in my practice. I've enjoyed the benefit of having a new family. I have seen God turn certain areas in my life where I had despair, it has turned into hope. Where I had darkness, it turned into light. Where I was heavy laden, now I have peace. And I tell myself, maybe I should continue on the trajectory of enjoying my personal successes. But it also hurts my heart where we are. And sometimes I tell myself, look at where we are. We have had a government for the last 25 years that has failed the people in Dominica in many respects, have given Dominicans false hope. I just want to brush on an example. Look at the construction of the international airport. Dominicans have not gotten any real benefit from the construction of that airport, and it's not going to get better when the project is completed, if it is completed under God's grace. And I say to myself, but look at the opposition itself. It appears fragmented. It appears uninspiring. People are asking questions, what is happening? And then I ask myself, Joshua, what are you doing? Are you going to be part of this? Are you going to be part of a new team, a new vision, a new movement, a re-energized movement, a renewed vision? Are you going to work with Dr. Fountain? Are you going to work with Bernard Ito? Are you going to work with Loftus Durant? And most times the answer is yes. But then I get discouraged again. Because when I speak with a few people to come together, let's have a conversation, let's unify the opposition, there seems to be some hesitance. There seems to be some doubt. There seems to be some hurdle along the way. For whatever reason, people don't show urgency. But there should be urgency, Loftus. So to sum up, I would say that this is in God's hands. I try my best to simply surrender myself to God, allow him to decide my fate, allow him to decide my steps. And if it's God's will, which I suspect it is, I definitely will be part of a team to cause a change of government in Dominica.
All right. Honorable Joshua Francis, thank you very much, my brother, for your eloquence tonight in terms of your deliveries. I want to thank you on behalf of the many, many folks tuned in tonight. I know they enjoyed the conversation, and some of what you said, if not all of what you said, they will put into practice as it pertains to this country, Whitey Kubuli.
Thank you, Lofty.
Again, Josh, thank you very, very much indeed.
You're welcome, Lofty. Thank you, and thanks to your platform, and thank you to your followers.
All right, indeed. Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Do enjoy what is left of the night and a prosperous week ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and same to you. Blessings to you and all your followers.
All right, my brother. All right, thank you.
Oh, once I had a dream.
My dear friend, Nashel, good evening to you.
Politicians hold significant power. Shape the future for you and me through the right decisions, policies, and leadership.
She calls this one Dream Killer.
They can either empower the young people, create barriers that will stifle our ambition and potential to be the best we can be. So, Mr. PM, what's going on?
A lot of despair around. A lot of folks are losing hope.
You created an illusion.
But these kind of Sunday conversations,
prosperous, wealthy nation.
We are telling you, keep hope alive. Your better days are ahead.
I'm a Gaia, I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer. We had plenty hope, but now we can't cope. You're a dream killer.
So all of you that stayed the course here with us tonight, thank you very much for your eyes and ears each and every time.
Well, you're a dream killer.
My dear friend Gertrude, good evening to you.
He working for small money. You're a dream killer. You present a lot of things. We believe in you. No our life passing.
I'm having a conversation with a possible guest for next week.
This is fulfilling a few. Then is big celebration for us to praise you.
As yes, we will continue on that conversation, read the confirmation process, which kicks off this week, Wednesday.
We have a dream.
And also, very importantly as well, that guests will be touching on, or most likely will touch on, the process by which the RSS can enter into any member country.
Sent overseas to study.
Yes, you heard me right. Our guest potentially for next week.
Workers were blue bags, that their parents
We'll be able to touch on the process by which RSS members.
Facebook Live, they think she exposing me.
Yes, there is a process, huh?
And I wonder why you acting so.
Now the RSS members can enter into any member country. That and more next week, Sunday, same time, same place from 6 o'clock.
Graduate, you don't pay the school. All we hear is excuses and more promises while the students down on their knees.
The man himself, Mr. Malon Jurdel, good evening to you.
You are heartbreaker.
He penned this one.
Killer.
Just giving some credits to the writer and the singer.
You're a dream killer. Disregard of mental health while you busy gaining wealth. You're a dream killer. Some in NEP working for small money. You're a dream killer. You present a lot of things. We believed in you. Now our life passing by, nothing coming through. It is so embarrassing while you there smiling. Baby debts are grumbling, the college waiting. Hey. Oh.
Well, that is what we're about at Civic Vibes, huh? Keep educating the people each and every Sunday.
I have a dream.
Education is power. But what is power if you don't choose to exercise it, huh?
Work and determination. We can reach our destination through access to capital, education, and mentorship. But consider yourself as a young man stuck in the cycle of stagnation.
Again, let me thank Brother Joshua Francis for his eloquent delivery here tonight.
Every day he faces the harsh reality.
Much was said.
He cannot provide for his family, losing his seat.
I hope you guys learned something tonight and be prepared to put into practice.
For his opportunity. Some call you a blood sucker, I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer. We had plenty hope.
Brother Blanchard said, keep the pressure on.
You're a dream killer. Disregard of mental health while you busy gaining wealth. You're a dream killer. Some in NEP working for small money.
Brother Blanchard, I just hope you ask Mr. Zah permission to use that line, huh?
We believed in you. Now our life passing by, nothing coming through. Who can run will run. Who cannot will stay. Waiting for election day to get a payday.
So folks, that's it. See you guys next week. Same time, same place. It's 8:30. I'm out. Bye-bye. I love you.
We have a dream. We have a dream.